haven't lost the willingness to look at the humorous side of it.
Breathing completely until the wonderful news unfolds.
We are now making up about 1,000 black troops.
Have been found,
And when we come,
tortured, and
woe
shot.
be
I
on the
hate the Army worse
slave-holding
than I hate anything.
Our anti-aircraft guns are yammering, and every so often a bomb.
If you wrote about them all, I doubt you would believe me.
My name is Andrew Carroll, and I'm the founder of something called the Legacy Project, which is an effort started 15 years ago to encourage Americans to save their war letters. And thanks to Dear Abby, the columnist who did an article about it, the word spread throughout the country, and veterans and their families started sending us literally thousands, tens of thousands of war letters from every conflict in our nation's history. We now have about 100,000 wartime correspondences, from handwritten missives going back to the American Revolution, emails from Iraq and Afghanistan. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are just literally millions of letters still out there.
It's my great pleasure to say a few words about this extraordinary production. The Fall the Skyward paper gives life to the voices of those who are often unheard, our military and their families. You know, we love to love the military, but do we listen to them? This play does.
The letters and the work that's been put into to bring these letters forth is incredible. In most cases, the people who wrote them are victims of the atrocity of war. The loss, the grief, the longing, all the things that have come with it. And that's why I think these specific letters are extraordinary, as opposed to telling us the history of the war. They tell us the history of what it is to survive the pain that war causes.
There was much vulgarity in the letters. Some of them are obscene and show filthy and lewd dispositions. And I intend to send you a bundle of them as soon as the boys quit reading them.
The sort of singular voice of each of these letters is really interesting, because it's not something that you've read about or you hear anywhere else. So when I opened it up and I started reading, it struck me how many experiences could have been lost without this, and how many of these guys may have said something in the moment that they might not have said when they got home, and how the preservation of that seemed really unique and important.
This is the letter that was found in the house in Seattle. It's Dear Sis, it's 9:05 a.m. Sunday morning, and we've been bombed for over an hour. You know, he's trapped in the Ford engine room. You look at the upper right-hand corner, December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor. He went on for 53 pages about what it was like to be inside a ship at Pearl Harbor. And he's writing and saying, look, you know, there's nowhere else I can go. So all I can do is sit here and write this letter and hope that we survive. And of course he did. And, he actually couldn't send the letter right away because of censorship, but then he waited a year. People say, like, well, war letters, you know, they really can't say much because of, you know, they're restricted. But it's not true. They would write almost like a journal and then send it off later.
We get to hear the voices of the people who experience these things, and we get to feel their sentiments, and we get to know their perspective. It's important that there's no filter between us and them.
I want to say I also had the privilege of meeting John at Chapman University. You know, obviously the letters and the work that's been put into to bring these letters forth is incredible. And then, you know, John helping to kind of mindfully consider all the different innocents that are brought into war, because we really are looking at the victims of war, whether they be the soldiers themselves or the family waiting at home, whether or not it was a choice that was made to be in the position that you are writing this letter.
The more personal these stories are, any war story, the more human the war becomes, and war is human, you know, the toll is man.
One letter that I read tonight was a gentleman named Spotswood Rice. He was amongst 1,000 black soldiers that he had been out fighting with, and he was writing to a slave owner who was claiming his child. So you just hold on now, as long as you can. When I come after Mary, I will have a power and authority to bring her away and to execute vengeance on them that holds my child. You will then know how to talk to me. Spotswood Rice.
To be part of this whole arrangement at the service of this material that is true, that is real. I mean, these letters are not fabricated in any way. And so I find that very powerful. A war letter is a very specific kind of communication. And so I was driven by the challenge and the desire to communicate.
And the whole point is that it is these letters from all these different countries, and when you strip away the dates and the locations, like, you really don't know what country it's from.
You know, that's our goal. We're trying to find something that's more universal and more timeless, rather than this being a specific play about American conflicts.
I would say logistically, I see it as an absolute nightmare, but if it could be pulled off, it would be unbelievable.
November 22nd, 1918. The war is over. In Trafalgar Square, I saw a mob of Tommies, New Zealanders, Australians, and South Africans dancing arm in arm. Fireworks are displayed, horns shouting, street lamps and windows showing life again, and people smile. But something attracted my attention in the shadow of a doorway. It was a woman in mourning, standing alone, weeping softly. She was silently watching the merrymaking of those living, enjoying freedom again, while she suffered the loss of her husband, boy, or sweetheart. Just think, Mother, mind you, over 3 million men gone.